Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Carrot Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 1959 Alfred Hitchcock spy thriller North by Northwest. Now, North by Northwest runs for 136 minutes long. Not only did Alfred Hitchcock direct the movie, he also produced the movie. The script was written by Ernest Lehman, who was nominated for an Academy Award. The cinematography was done by Robert Burks, the score was done by Bernard Herrmann, and the editing was done by George Tomasini, who was also nominated for an Oscar for his editing work in this movie. And the movie stars Cary Grant, Eva Marie Saint, James Mason, Martin Landau, Jessie, Royce, Landis, Leo G. Carroll, and Edward Platt. Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest stars Cary Grant as Roger Thornhill, an advertising executive for a magazine. While socializing with his colleagues at the well-known Plaza Hotel in New York City, he gets interrupted by a page boy wanting a person who goes by the name of George Kaplan. Thornhill eventually gets abducted by two henchmen named Philip Van Dam, played by James Mason, and his closeted gay associate Leonard, played by Martin Landau. They believe that Roger is George Kaplan, who is believed to be a secret agent who's trying to stop them from smuggling microfilm, which holds the key to various government secrets. All the while, too, it is also led to believe that this Mr. Kaplan is also on the hit list who's wanted for murder. So, trying to hang on to dear life all the while to clear his innocence, Thornhill goes on an all-over America quest to find the real George Kaplan, who's much more harder to find than even he could imagine. He eventually gets seduced by a voluptuous diva named Eve Kendall, played by Eva Marie Saint, as he tries to get away at the cost of being betrayed. It turns out that Miss Kendall, who at first seems somewhat sympathetic towards Thornhill, is actually a double agent who might be working for Van Dam and Leonard. And it seems like he just doesn't seem to know who he could trust. I mean, he's just an oblivious bystander who doesn't even know what the hell is going on. He's practically on the run for crimes and misdemeanors that he never ever committed to begin with. A dangerous chase comes his way, which takes Thornhill across Mount Rushmore, across the visages of the four iconic presidents: George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. Even though Alfred Hitchcock directed this master film of thrill-seeking espionage, he wasn't the only main reason why this film is beyond remarkable. The very intellectual script by Ernest Lehman makes the dialogue just as equally poignant as the action. What is also a major milestone in the world of filmmaking comes from the opening title sequences by Saul Bass, who for the first time in cinematic history utilized animation text to keep the viewers intrigued. I mean, this also passed on for several of James Bond movies, like Dr. No and From Russia with Love and so forth. And animated opening title sequences had become a very popular thing, throughout the cinematic. But this movie, North by Northwest, was the first time they ever actually used animated opening sequences. So this is a milestone on its own, and it is actually very noteworthy to take mention of. It's never been happened before. For this movie, like in all of his movies, sadly, Hitchcock was shut out at the Academy Awards for Best Direction. But his contributors had 3 nominations, which were well deserved, which included Best Script by Edward Lehman, Best Editing by George Tomasini, and Best Production Design by various recipients who helped do the production design. The trials and tribulations that our protagonist faces can really be hard on the nerves at times. And we're not here to chastise Hitchcock for it. He actually succeeds in making us get on our nerves. I believe that the more Hitchcock gets us on our nerves, he's probably saying that he's done himself a job well done and deserves a self-induced pat on the back. Now, I'm not a huge fan of seeing innocent people getting framed for mistaken identity, but North by Northwest really exhibits this type of film almost flawlessly. From the opening scenes where he's picked up by these felons while eating with his colleagues, and the more he struggles, the more our anxiety manifests within our psyche. And the fact that there was really never a George Kaplan to begin with makes us more upsetting, because now Thornhill can't even prove that he's not who they think he is. The police are after him. These henchmen are after him. He's practically a man on the run for an identity that's not his, and no such a person exists. He doesn't even have any proof. But the courageous thing about it is that Thornhill will not surrender that easily. He will continue to lead them to a chase, even if it is to go all across America, even if he is putting his own life at danger. He is really that resilient. And this is coming from just a guy who's just an ad executive for a newspaper. The leading performances by Cary Grant and Eva Marie Saint were absolutely stunning. Grant keeps the anguish going while trying to remain as collected as possible. Eva Marie Saint was able to take some risks by jumping hurdles that were pretty unknown at the time. This duo really carried the cargo of the film provocatively, but it took quite some moments before Eva Marie Saint entered the fray. But once she came into the scenes, the film really took off after. James Mason shows ferocity as the leading antagonist, but it was Martin Landau's Leonard that was perhaps maybe even more macabre. His dialogue conveys just how homosexuality was treated in the golden age of cinema. And rounding off the smaller roles which were also quite noteworthy, was Leo G. Carroll, who in this movie goes by the name of the Professor. He was the guy who concocted this whole George Kaplan fiasco. But the more endearing moments are when Thornhill is interacting with his mother, Clara, played by Jessie Royce Landis, who at the time of filming this movie, she was only just 7 years older than him, and yet she was playing his mother. Maybe there was a little bit of a miscast there. I mean, maybe Cary Grant may have been a little too old to play this role. But either way, I'm not gonna argue any more further than that. He played his role convincingly. Even though the guy looked like he was in his 50s, and his mother looked like she could pass off for an older sister, I'm not going to let that affect or change my decisions of what I think of this movie. The visuals were really out of this world, and it was also quite a shame that Robert Burks was also shut out at the Academy Awards because I think he also should have won an award for Best Cinematography at the Academy Awards. What were they thinking? Sure, okay, Ben-Hur was a great movie, but I thought North by Northwest was a masterpiece. I mean, there were a lot of great memorable scenes, which includes the dazzling, intoxicating car chase scene when Thornhill was inebriated, and the car chase scene will really entertain people who love action films, and maybe this action scene was way ahead of its time. The humorous elevator scene is much needed comic relief. I mean, it is not a film that takes itself 100% seriously, but the elevator scene will surely put a chuckle to your faces. The auction house scene also is provided with some good low-key humor. And the climatic chase across Mount Rushmore, but the real eye-opener is when Thornhill is in a cornfield and is being hunted down by a crop duster. The shooting was some of the best ever developed. For aficionados of the visual arts, they will truly enjoy this stylistic film. If you prefer your movies with style over substance, well, look no further. This movie actually has a combination of both style and substance. That's why this movie is ranked, according to the American Film Institute, as one of the top 100 best films of all time. And who can blame them for putting North by Northwest among the annals of great filmmaking? North by Northwest was definitely vintage Hitchcock. The thrills will shock you, frustrate you, and all the while make your head spin. Not in an overwhelming perspective, but in an amazement perspective. It comes with the man on the run, the double-crossing diva, and the shady villain. It is a vital movie for all Hitchcock impresarios. And then you would follow up with the even more eerie classic film a year later with the iconic Psycho. If I was to give this movie a scale out of 10, it's definitely a 9.5. You gotta see this one. For all those who are just starting off as Hitchcock fans and you want to get on the right foot, I would suggest for you all to check out North by Northwest. You will not regret it. Well, I guess this ends my writer review this week. Thank you all in for listening. And if you want to subscribe to my channel, please do so. If you want to write a comment, feel free to leave a comment. But remember, be kind, be courteous. I have no room for rudeness. If you have nothing nice to say about me or my reviews, don't bother coming on. Don't waste your time. Don't waste my time. I'm here just to have fun. I'm not here to be chastised. So please just keep that in mind. Okay? I have high-functioning autism, and I don't need the verbal abuse. So we'll just leave it there at that. So until next time, this is Eric Writer, and I will be back again with another review. So until next time, take care of yourselves, and have a good day, everyone. Goodbye.